All right, now we're going to talk about Iran. We welcome back to the show General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst. Thank you for your patience, General Keane. We appreciate it. Had some breaking news to deal with. But there's breaking news on the Iran front today, too. Okay, so Soleimani was killed. What's his name? Larijani was killed. He's a really super bad guy. They're all bad guys. I don't know why I just said that. A new crackdown on civilians and dissidents. The numbers are over 40,000 already. How do you read this? Is it a morale killer to have, let's say, a guy like Larijani, who's such a pivotal figure, I guess, close to the late Ayatollah Khamenei, etc. He's the guy running security, as I understand it. He's the guy spearheading all the killings of civilians, innocent civilians. Does that hurt them, the morale? Does that change anything in your judgment?
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is the most significant day in terms of killing high-value targets. Obviously, the Ayatollah on day one, and 30 to 40 other leaders as well. But this is very significant because 18 months ago, Larijani was appointed by the Ayatollah to be his interim successor. And the reality is that at that time, he sidelined the president of the country, kept him in name only. And the guy that's been running Ukraine for the last 18 months has been Larijani. And when the Ayatollah was killed, he took over full responsibility until Mojab Khamenei, the Ayatollah's son, has taken it. But his son isn't doing any ruling either because he's seriously wounded. So Larijani has been in the target zone for the last 2 weeks and finally got him. Number two, Soleimani heads the Basij militia. So our audience understands this is the militia that does all the repressing of the population. They only exist for one purpose only, to repress the population. So they have the blood on their hands. There are tens of thousands you just mentioned. Here's the other piece to that. They killed his deputy as well, and not reported hundreds, hundreds of other Basij militia. And these are the people that are on the streets right now, making sure the people don't come out. There's a big holiday tomorrow, and they don't want those people to come out. And the Israelis are doing this. They got, at times, exquisite intelligence, human intelligence, Mossad on the ground, surveillance, listening to phones, and the rest of it. And they knocked out a couple of hundred of these other members that are doing the killing. This is a huge step forward here, and we're not going to let up on it. We've got some time to go here in terms of finishing our military objectives. The Israelis are contributing to that, and they're focusing on taking down the security force organizations that have been sustaining this regime. And we're going to be unrelenting in doing that, and the evidence of that is clear in terms of the success last night.
General, you mentioned tomorrow's a holiday in Iran. You think, is it possible that the population will come out and take to the streets and protest of everything that's happening?
We honestly don't know. Certainly the repressive forces have been doing everything to prevent that from happening, insisting don't come out, don't even come out to go shopping tomorrow, don't come out for any purpose whatsoever, or you're going to be shot at. But we've cleaned up a lot of these people on the streets too. It remains to be seen. It would be a good thing, certainly, for them to protest, but certainly if it's going to mean death and destruction for them, certainly based on what's happened in the past, they'll give it a second thought. But listen, as this regime gets weaker, and it is getting significantly weaker every day, the possibility of more protests at some point where they can't repress them anymore gets more real. And that's the path we're on.
General Keane, I'm reading that there are two armies in Iran. One is the Revolutionary Guards, of course. I guess the number there is about 150,000. But there's a second army that we sometimes hear less about, the Islamic Republic of Iran Army. Artesh is what it's called. It has over 300,000 people. If the reporting is to be trusted, we've gone after, the U.S. and Israel and so forth have gone after the Revolutionary Guards, but we have not gone after this second army, the Artesh army, which tends to be more I don't know, it could be equivalent, some kind of equivalent of a border control or homeland, whatever it is. But we haven't gone after him. I didn't know that. Is it true? And what do you think about that? How do you reckon that?
Well, here's why. One, most of the draftees are in that army. Two, the leaders of that army are not the ideologues that are part of the IRGC, and they're not paid as well, but they're not ideologues either. And I know for a fact that we're talking to some of the leaders in that army as potential if the regime is going to collapse. And certainly the Israelis are working on that full time to set conditions for a regime collapse. And if it's going to do that, CIA, Mossad, and talking to army leaders, they would likely be some of the people that may be willing to, one, undermine the regime to further push it towards collapse, and two, take over to help to stabilize the country. They're not the ideologues. They're not the diabolical killers. They're not going to open fire on the population. They see themselves as part of the population. That's all the draftees. That's why they've never asked them, Larry, to go out on the streets and fire on the people. And the reason is they're not sure they would. And that's the reality of it. Well, so, yes, it's an excellent point that you brought up here, and one that our audience needs to know about. There is huge potential here with the leadership of that army possibly breaking faith with the ideologues that are running the country.
Do you have any evidence, just the last one on this channel, on this point, any evidence that Israel and or the U.S. is in fact talking to that army, the Artesh army?
Yes, they are talking to some of those army leaders for the purposes I mentioned.
Wow.
To
so
help
that's for
one
sure.
undermine the regime. Yeah, help undermine the regime and hopefully be in a position to do that. We're talking to others as well. Remember, the administration did a good job before Maduro was captured in talking to a number of his direct reports about the possibility, if Maduro was gone, would we be able to work with you and help stabilize the country post-Maduro? Something similar is going on here. Now, whether that materializes or not, we don't know, Larry. But the fact that we are doing that is a step in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Terrific stuff. General Jack Keane, as always, thank you for your wisdom. We appreciate it very, very much.